So I need another if statement, and I'm going to say if the lay odds minus the favourites lay odds, which are in H5, is greater than 2, then if that's true, display a 1, if that's false, display a 0. So now I've got these three flags, and the only one that's true at the moment is that those odds are smaller than 8, and it's probably because the race just finished, the market's been suspended and it's reading 0 at the moment, which obviously is less than 8. Now the way I'm going to use those flags is I'm going to total them up, and I'm going to say if those three flags equal 3, place my bet, otherwise don't. And so to add them together, I'll use another function called sum, and I'll just select the three cells and press enter, and it will add those up. So the total at the moment is 1. Now to actually place the bet, I want to go back to these three cells I mentioned earlier, the trigger cell, the odds cell and the stake cell. Now to keep things simple, I'm just going to have the stake as £2, which is the minimum stake here in the UK. The odds I'm going to use are the current lay odds, and the easiest way to do that is just to go to the odds cell in R7, put equals, and then select H7, which is the current lay odds for the third horse. Press enter, and then whatever is in that H7 will also appear in R7. So now all I need to do to place a bet is to have the cell, the trigger cell Q7, to say lay, and the way I'm going to do that is with another if statement. So I click on the function, I select if, and what my test is if these three flags add up to 3, so if AD7 equals 3, then I want this cell to say lay. I need to put that in quotes, so it's open quote, capital L-A-Y, close quotes, and then if it's false, I just want the cell to be blank. So in the false box, I'm just going to put quote, quote. Press OK. Now that's me finished pretty much, and what will happen is when betting assistant moves over to the next race, which is the 16:30, so it's going to move over in about half a minute. When it moves over, it's going to look at these three flags here, and if the odds of the third horse down are greater than 5, smaller than 8, and it's more than 2 away from the favourite, then this will read lay, and my bet will be placed at a stake of £2, and these odds will show whatever the current lay odds are for that horse. So I'll be laying at whatever price it is, which will be something between 5 and 8, and my bet will be placed. Now we'll just wait for that to happen. The odds are too big, so it's 13. So I think what I'll do is I'll just pause the video, and then we'll come back at the next race, and hopefully we'll find one that meets the criteria we've set and where my bet will be placed. This race has just gone into play, so I've just switched the video back on just in case the conditions happen to be met in play. So my bet got placed, and I got it matched at 2.84. Now it may be that it's going to go on to win, but that's not the point here. I'm just trying to demonstrate how this works. So we've got a bet matched, and you can see even if this started saying lay again in here, it wouldn't place a second bet, because whilst there's information here, whilst there's a bet reference in there, a second bet is not placed. Now when it moves on to the next race, and it's only when the software moves itself on, if you move it on manually it doesn't work, but when it moves on itself to the next race, it will clear these contents out, it will set these back to 0, and it does that because we checked that option when we linked it to the spreadsheet. And when those items are removed, then another bet can be placed. So if all the 3 flags are true again once the next race is loaded, then a bet will be placed on that race. So let me just see how long we've got. So we've got 4 minutes until that happens. So just to recap what we've got then. So we've got a simple little system that will, when set up properly, will cycle through every race in the afternoon's card. It will look at the third favourite in each race, or the third horse down on the Betfair card, and if the horse has odds of more than 5 and less than 8, and it's more than 2 away from the favourite, so 2 whole numbers away from the favourite, then a bet will be placed. A lay bet will be placed at the current available lay odds at a stake of 2. Now that's an extremely simple little system, and we would probably want to make it more complex than that. So in future videos what we'll look at is writing macros that will do things more complex. We'll look at ways of operating staking plans, so checking the balance, seeing how we've done and adjusting our stakes accordingly, and we'll look at numerous other things. If you want to make sure that you're notified of any future videos, some of them will be released publicly, some will be available only to members of the Betting School Insiders Club. But to be on the notification list, the best thing to do is to go to betting-school.com/sample, SAMPLE, and there you can register for a free sample of our Insiders report, which is a very good report in itself, 30 pages of good content. But get yourself on that list, and then as soon as we make a new video, we'll mail everybody on that list to let them know that it's been released. Now we're still a few minutes away from the next race, and I just want you to see what happens when the next race comes up. So I'll just pause the video for a little while, and then I'll activate it again just as it switches over to the next race. Okay, so we're just coming up to a minute before the next race, and shortly the software will move on to the next race, and you'll be able to see what happens when that happens. So there we go, it's moved on to the next race, it's cleared these cells out. Unfortunately the price isn't below 8, so you can't see the bet placed, but it might move below 8 in the next minute before the off, and if it does, the bet will be placed on this race. And that's how it just cycles through the whole day, placing one bet per race that meet the criteria that you've set down. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've been Darren Power from thebettingschool.com, and I'll speak to you again very soon.